I'm sure there are some people in the audience that are waiting for you to bring in the concepts of crossing the chasm, pre-chasm, post-chasm, and how technology is adopted. So can you explain part of that and how it actually hits executives trying to lead companies through these very different stages?
Yeah, so since you gave me the pens, I'm going to use the pens.
I promise.
This isn't the drawing that I was intending to draw, but most of you have seen this drawing before. And so I'm going to label this stage here, this is the exploration stage. And this is where we're looking for all the answers to those questions that I was talking about earlier. And think of this as the production stage. This is where we scale what we've learned back here. And it's not to say that there isn't exploration over here, there isn't production over here, there is. It's just that the emphasis changes significantly. So when I think about breaking it down by role, I think the CEO's role, and this could be the GM of a business unit in a large company, is...
We have CEOs in the room, by the way, so I'm sure they're on the edge of their seat now.
Okay. In the early stages, I think the main objective of that CEO is to make sure that there's alignment between the board and the executive team on the fact that there's an experiment that the company is running, and to be able to define the questions that experiment is going to answer and the metrics that are going to be used to measure success, as opposed to going straight for the revenue. So that would be the CEO role.
So that would make it particularly more challenging for CEOs who came out of sales to be able to kind of shift that mindset?
Well, that's a loaded question, Ron. I think where I think there's a challenge is where you have a CEO who has spent their entire career on that production side, and they're asked to come in and run either a business unit in a large company or a startup. And their whole mindset is demand existed when I ran those other companies. Whereas in an early stage company, demand for the product category doesn't necessarily exist. The customers may want the outcome that the company is pitching, but they're probably scared about the technology. They don't want to be the first to adopt it. And so the mindset of the CEO that's all about let's go get the revenue and let's produce may be counter to what you really want to solve for in that early market.
Okay, so how do you see that trickling down to the executive teams that you consult with?
Well, if the CEO comes from that production mindset and they haven't gotten the board or their boss in a large company aligned around this idea of we're running an experiment and our first order of business is to solve for all of those questions I was talking about, if that alignment has not been created, then there's going to be enormous pressure between the CEO and the VP of sales. If we're talking about a B2B company, and a B2C company, it's going to be between the CEO and the VP of marketing. And then you have to start asking the question, well, what's the right skill set of the VP of sales, given where that technology is in the life cycle?
Okay, cool. So what about that CEO marketing relationship?
So I think of the CMO role in the early market as being the right-hand person to the CEO and defining the attributes of the experiment. What target markets are we going after? What target markets are we going after with what value propositions? All those things I mentioned before. And painting that picture to the board so that the board understands that every time the board meets with the executive team, that they're going to be measured on how well they're doing in finding answers to those questions. Because the answers to those questions are leading indicators of success. Revenue, by definition, is a coincident indicator of success. It's not a leading indicator of success.